Well, good morning and welcome to Elevenses. I'm Kevin Williams of Survival Skills Rider Training. It's Wednesday, it's not the 3rd of December at all, is it? I've got the 3rd of December for some reason on the notes. It's in fact January, isn't it? 3rd of January 2024. And in today's Elevenses, we have stories from around the world, and we have some news and views and tips as well. So if this is the first time that you've looked in on this show, welcome to you. And if you're a regular, well, welcome back again as we move into 2024. So in today's show, we'll have a quick look at what I'm up to in the coming year. The first story is a rather sad one. An elderly woman was left for dead by a hit-and-run bike thief in Glasgow. Meanwhile, an electric motorcycle's been dumped in the Thames, that's near the Thames barrier. A Malay rider got away very luckily when he was swept off his bike attempting to cross floods. 3 have died though in the Punjab trying to make a TikTok video, whilst a bunch of Malay riders doing much the same thing caused a pile up. I always wonder why people do daft stunts like that. Councils, if you've ever wondered how much they pay out on pothole compensation, I've got a story on that today. We'll also talk about how Honda are moving back into the motorcycle training industry. Something I mentioned a few posts ago on my Facebook and coffee pages was use of lighting, but not in the way that we normally use lighting on motorcycles. And we'll have a look at a Lambretta, which follows the concept that I was talking about. And then we'll have a quick look at the unfortunately named and awfully styled TOZ bike, T-O-Z-Z. And Ola, a Spanish manufacturer of electric scooters, they're releasing electric motorcycles. And finally, we'll have a look at an in-depth piece, a long-term repair or an iffy bodge. I'll leave it to you to decide. So stay with me for the next 30 minutes or so whilst I run through all those various stories. Now, let's start with a welcome to 2024. Now, as it's the 11s and news is a bit thin at the moment today, I thought I'd update you with some plans for the year ahead. Now, I want to continue, first of all, to develop my online training courses to cover various aspects of motorcycle riding. Now, I know that many riders still doubt that you can learn anything effectively online. All I can say to that is give it a go. Compared with an on-road course, an online session really is a lot cheaper and it's a lot more convenient because you take it in your own time. You take it when you are in a relaxed frame of mind. You're not worrying about riding the motorcycle at the same time as you're thinking about what you're doing. So it really is a very effective way of learning. It's not the same as learning on road. I'll quite happily say that, but it is definitely a constructive way to spend some time. Now, after all, I learnt myself. I took an e-learning course on how to teach e-learning, so I am a qualified e-tutor, and it does work. I'll be continuing to write, of course, on all aspects of motorcycle riding, covering everything from beginner's guide to advanced riding technique, motorcycle maintenance and mental skills. Now, as usual, posts do go up first for my coffee followers, supporters and subscribers. It's perfectly free to go over there and sign up as a follower on coffee, and you will get an alert telling you every time a new post goes up. And the big plus over following me on Facebook is that you don't get all the rubbish that comes with Facebook. If you want to stay with Facebook, then the posts go up again about 8 hours later, but the danger is, of course, unless you have to be looking in the right place at the right moment, you're likely to miss them. So if you become a Facebook, if you move from Facebook to become a coffee follower, the bonus is that you don't get all the other junk if you do want to follow my page specifically. You can also look out for my mini ebooks too, and I do hope to publish at least one full-length book this year. I've got at least a couple roughed out, so hopefully one will get finished off. I will, of course, continue to bring you this 11's news roundup, and I'll also be adding videos regularly to my other YouTube playlists. So watch out for some different format videos too. I've got some ideas about what I will release this year, more on that soon. I'll be continuing my online workshops on various issues, including the science of being seen. and all sorts of motorcycling topics that can be treated online. Defensive riding, hazard awareness, riding psychology, they're all perfectly capable of being delivered online. And of course, I am always open to community engagement. If I'm happy to work with riding groups anywhere they are based to promote safer riding, awareness of hazards, riding skills, you name it, I will talk about it. But I particularly, of course, want to bring my Science of Being Seen presentation to all of those who want to sit and listen to it. That was, of course, created for the award-winning Biker Down courses. So, book me up. I will happily come out to your own club, or if I can't make it in person, we can set up a Zoom. I also hope to relaunch some local riding meetups this year as well. I meant to do that last year and never got around to it for various reasons. Now, I like to link all these up via my social media presence. Facebook is obvious one. I'm also on the platform formerly known as Twitter and Instagram, and I've also recently created a Blue Sky account, which is a sort of Twitter replacement. As the weather warms up and dries up, hopefully, and the wind drops, I'll be restarting my post-test and advanced training courses as well for all levels of riders, from newly qualified to highly experienced. Now, in the one case, you'll get a sound reinforcement to what you learn to pass the test, plus some fill-in skills for things that often basic training misses out, and just a reassurance, really, you're doing all the right things. You will learn new stuff, believe me. In the second, if you are an experienced rider, you'll get an introduction to an approach to riding which will probably differ from what you've experienced before. I hope it will broaden your thinking as well as introduce you to new ideas. Now, at the risk of sounding like I'm begging, I will ask you for your support too. Now, as you may have noticed, I run an entirely advert-free network. I can't do anything about the adverts that are popped in by the likes of Facebook and YouTube, but I don't pepper my content with sponsor content because I believe that they really dilute the content. When you are sitting through a 5 or 6 minute video and 2 minutes of that is advertising sponsor content, I really get turned off by that. So I don't do that, and I don't want to have a sponsor like many influencers on social media. I just feel they're an annoyance and they subtract from the overall experience. So the vast majority of my content is provided for you absolutely free, and it will remain free. And that includes my Xmas freebie, incidentally. That's the I Fought the Law and the To a Score Draw mini ebook. You can download that from my Coffee page. Best place to go is probably to find it here. I'm just putting it up on the there we go. There's a link to the page on Coffee. That'll take you straight to the download. You can read what that's all about. That's available still to download for free. But I do know that, having written over online for many years, it's difficult, particularly on Facebook, where I've been writing most of my stuff since about 2013. It's very difficult to find old articles, and that's why I've spent a lot of time since 2020 creating the Coffee archive. There are currently 1,000 articles. That's not a mistake. It is 1,000 articles from the Skills on Saturday and the Tips on Tuesday series. That's 50 each per year. Every single article on from 2014 to 2023 is now listed on my Coffee site in the contents page. So how do you get to it? Well, basically, most of that is now behind a paywall. I'll admit some of it is there for free, but pay just £3 price for Coffee, basically, and that opens up access to all those articles for a month. And if you become a regular member, that starts as little as £3 a month too, you can access a whole bunch of additional content too. So if you've not yet been over there, do go over and have a look at coffee.com survival skills to see what's on offer. Your support is what keeps me writing, video creating and webcasting, and I thank you for your past support, and I look forward to your future support as you join me for an exciting 2024. Right, that's the personal advert bit over, so we can move on to the weather. Now, what's been going on the... let's get the right picture up. There we go. That's the one. What's been going on? Well, Storm Henk, you may have noticed, that breezed across southern England yesterday with a very late update to an amber warning for wind, and it did in fact bring very, very strong winds. I think a 90-mile-per-hour gust was recorded actually inland, and it was particularly strong along the south coast during the early part of the afternoon. It was very gusty here in London, but it has cleared the UK. It's left behind sunny spells and blustery showers across most of the country, but it has also left a lot of flood warnings. So if you are out there on the bike today, be very careful. There is flood water around in a lot of different places. The rest of the day, sunny spells, blustery showers for most of the country, snow high elevations in Scotland, but watch out for patchy frost later in northern England and in Scotland overnight. Now Thursday, tomorrow, promises to be another day of sunshine and showers, mainly dry and sunny through the south, heavier and more frequent showers for Scotland, and stronger winds too for the northern and western coasts. Now Friday and Saturday sees a mix of sunshine and scattered showers, mainly dry and sunny across England and Wales, but the temperatures are dropping and it will reach just 4 degrees maximum in the north and 6 degrees in the south on Friday, and it will be close to freezing on Saturday, particularly where fog lingers, so watch out for that. Sunday too looks foggy and frosty, and with a maximum temperature of just 2 degrees, so turning very cold indeed. Now do keep an eye on the forecast. There still seems to be quite a lot of uncertainty over exact locations for all these things, but whilst it is cold, it's still not the beast from the east that the trashier papers have been telling us is on the way. Right, okay, so we have Christine has looked in. Good morning, Christine. Let me just turn that banner off, which is running irritatingly now. Who else have we got here? We have Kevin is also here today, and Sue is looked in. Good morning to you all, and welcome to the first real show of 2024. Now, okay, on with some news, and as I said, unfortunately, the first news story of the year is a fairly disappointing one. It's a woman who was hit by a bike thief, and he left her just lying in the road. Now the incident happened around 8 p.m. on the 31st of November. The 60-year-old was crossing the road in Cardonald in Glasgow. She was seriously injured and rushed to hospital, but she is fortunately in stable condition. The rider escaped on foot. He was riding a grey MT-07 that had been stolen from Edinburgh on Tuesday the 19th of December. Now police said there were a number of people in the area and that they're keen to speak to anyone who saw what happened, particularly if they have dashcam footage or CCTV that could assist with inquiries, and they want you to call Police Scotland on 101. Now, bike theft has been something that I have been talking about on numerous occasions over the last few years on Elevenses, and here's a motorcycle dumped in the Thames just before Christmas. It's just upstream, I think, from the barrier. And it's actually an interesting motorcycle because it's a Mayving RM1, which is a British-built electric motorcycle. Now, it will set the owner back some £5,000. Hopefully it's been recovered and returned, but I don't know how well it would have coped with being inundated. Batteries don't tend to like salty water. Continuing with the news, now some years ago one of our UK magazines posted a guide from an overlander on how to cross flooded roads. Now I think this was incredibly irresponsible, because when our roads in the UK flood, it's often because a river is in spate, and if you try to cross a flooded river, you are trying to get through a pretty powerful and fast flowing current. Just ankle deep water can knock you off your feet if it's moving quickly enough, as my brother discovered up in Yorkshire one year. He was very lucky to actually hang on to a branch and manage to pull himself out of the river after he got knocked off his feet. And the power of a flooded river, that was amply demonstrated by the tragic incident when 3 men drowned after they attempted to drive through the flooded River Esk on December the 28th, and they were reported to be in a Range Rover. Now, only the driver there managed to get out of a window and hold on to a tree branch. In Malaysia, a 23-year-old man was rather lucky. He tried to cross floodwater on Monday, January the 1st, but his motorcycle was swept away from underneath him, and he was lucky enough to hang on to a branch after being dragged only about 7 meters downstream. The water was 1.5 meters deep, so way beyond anything that anybody ought to attempt on a motorcycle. The Fire and Rescue Department personnel, they managed to pull him to safety after an hour. And the senior fire officer, Alwan Abdullah, he said the victim had escaped without injuries, but was, quote, slightly shaken by the incident. I doubt he'll see his motorcycle again, though. Now, unfortunately, it seems that floods aren't needed for daft stunts, and over the last couple of days I've come across quite a few. I've warned of the dangers of vlogging and riding at the same time on previous occasions. Now, in short, the reason for this is that our cognitive resources are fairly limited, and when we're trying to frame a monologue, it takes away our attention from riding and the road ahead. And that's why my own bike safety videos, they have the video shot from the bike, but the commentary is recorded from the safety of my office. Now, many riders still continue to try to mix and match. Some years ago I featured a steak and lorries video where a chef was riding along complaining about his customers and explaining how steak is cooked to order, but failed to notice that there was an HGV turning right ahead of him until the very last moment. Now, he got off lightly. 3 youngsters were sadly killed in the Punjab last month, and they were trying to make a video according to the police, to go on TikTok when the motorcycle they were on collided head on with a car coming the other way. And this bunch of idiots, well, I'll just play you the video here. They were said to be university students and teens, and they actually caused a pile-up as they tried to record a Superman stunt, and this was on the East Coast Highway in Malaysia. Right, that didn't deafen you there. I've forgotten that the audio on that was a bit on the loud side. But anyway, despite the crash, it seems the rider still posted it up, and the video of the stunt went viral. And not too surprisingly, the police used it to track down some of those involved. So 3 students, 1 15-year-old boy, they've been identified, and they were charged at a court on December the 29th. Now, you saw the rider at the head of the bunch suddenly lose control and fall off, and that triggered that domino effect as rider after rider failed to avoid hitting the bike ahead. So it's hard to see exactly how it was. They believe they have a case for pleading not guilty to the charges. They've been bailed to appear at a later date. Right, okay, now don't forget, if you have a question, a comment on anything, I am always happy to try to answer. If you miss these shows, do set a reminder. They go out Wednesdays and Sundays at 11. They are almost always live, occasionally recorded, and very rarely I miss a show. If you have missed anything, you can head over to my YouTube channel, Survival Skills, and the / then Survival Skills UK on the end of the YouTube bit. Is the URL. Don't forget that all important UK. Right, so okay, on with the next story. Have you ever wondered how much councils pay out in compensation for pothole damage and injury? Well, the Mirror has been investigating, and they have summed up the totals for the councils that responded to their Freedom of Information request. Many didn't, saying it wasn't something to reveal. I don't know why, but they revealed that the payouts since 2010 exceed £32 million, and that's just the top 10 payouts for each council that actually responded. So it's likely that the total payout is many, many times that. Now, Kent County Council, they top the list with a total payout of no less than £4,902,618. and that was because one claimant received 4.25 million for a pothole related incident in my old hometown of Maidstone. That was in 2014. Now I did look it up to see if I could find any more details, but nothing was in the news about what that might have been, but I suspect it was possibly a cyclist or a motorcyclist. Now Essex County Council, they were second on the list, £1,916,000. Hertfordshire County Council were close behind, 1.5 million. Surrey County Council 800,000, Durham County Council 800,000. Now the RSC's head of policy, Simon Williams, always happy to comment on a road safety issue. He said these shocking figures could have been far lower if councils had had certainty of funding from government years ago. As it was, the amount of maintenance work such as surface dressing and complete resurfacing has suffered, leading to roads deteriorating every year. Definitely a case of stating the obvious there. He continues, this lose-lose situation as drivers suffered expensive damage to their cars. And what about motorbikes, Simon? You keep forgetting motorbikes and cyclists and pedestrians who trip over them too. And then we all have to fight for compensation, and the councils have to fork out funds. And he says it's a wholly unnecessary situation that both parties could do without. He also said, incidentally, that the RSC wants to see 2p a litre from fuel duty revenue ring-fenced for local road repairs, as that would give, he says, councils rather, certainty of funding to continue proper long-term maintenance. Now, you may have wondered how riders get onto two wheels these days, if you have held your bike licence for many years, as I have. Getting on two wheels can feel a daunting task. First, there's the training, compulsory basic training and a full license. Then there's the multitude of bikes to choose, from super sport bikes through to adventure models. And on top of that, there's all the clothing and safety equipment you will need. Now that's the first paragraph explaining just why Honda are moving back into rider training. The motorcycle manufacturer is now offering a range of courses for all potential new riders, said to be, quote, everything you need to get on two wheels, and whilst helping, quote, spread the costs into monthly payments. Their full course includes up to 6 days of intensive training to go from novice through CBT to qualified with a full license. The step-up course is for riders who already have CBT and a theory test, who want to move up to a full license, either they say an A1, A2 or A level. There's a carrot with that particular course, quote, if you pass one of our Honda School of Motorcycling step-up courses, we'll also give you £500 towards a new bike, which will presumably be a Honda. There are, say Honda, schools all around England, Scotland and Wales who will teach you how to ride, help you gain your CBT certificate and progress to your full licence. Now, I did a search on my location. I was actually simply directed to bike dealers. So what I suspected immediately was that Honda have simply made links with some unnamed local schools to carry out the actual training. So I couldn't find any immediate details, so I trawled through the terms and conditions. Now, the first thing I noticed was how badly the terms and conditions page was actually written. Badly placed punctuation, missing capital letters. But the first thing I spotted which was relevant was, quote, by purchasing a motorcycle training course, you are entering into a contract with the licensed dealership and not with Honda or the contract centre through which your course is booked, and you acknowledge you will have no claim whatsoever against Honda or the contact centre in respect of the course. So basically, your comeback, if anything goes wrong, is against the dealership. Now, the second thing I noticed was that, quote, the Honda School of Motorcycling Contact Centre is operated on behalf of the Honda School of Motorcycling by the Motorcycle Industry Association Call Centres Limited. Now, of course, it all comes at a price, and as far as I can tell, it's all tied into the final purchase of a new Honda. For example, New Rider Program provides that training test bike. It's not entirely clear whether the deal must include basic riding kit, but you're likely going to need helmet, jacket, Ivy's bib, of course. Training school should provide that, actually. Gloves, of course, too. It's not whether they're sold to you or borrowed, I don't know. But anyway, the online example is based on the CB750 Hornet. you'll need to put down a deposit of over £1,600. Then the finance is available at £89 per month across a 3-year PCP deal. Now, if you add on the cost of the training, and they say £1,400 for that, and the tests is included in that cost, that's another £45 a month to go on your PCP, which means that you're now paying £133.83 per month. And when you get to the end of the 3 years, you have a final balloon payment of £3,837.86, should you wish to keep the bike at the end of the 3 years. Now, it's claimed that that's far more likely to be manageable for many would-be riders, but you know, it's borrowing. Is it a sound financial practice? Is it a way to run up more debt? I'll leave you to work that one out. Do the sums too. £133.83p times 36 is £4,800 and some odd bits and pieces, and in total you'll be looking at a bill of around 6,400 if you include the deposit, add in the final payment, and then it's more than 10,600 for your bike and training. Whether you consider that a convenient way of getting a bike, I don't know. All right. What's my next story? Oh yes, of course. Now, a few weeks back, I was talking in a written post on Science Being Seen that I think perhaps we've been going about using lighting to enhance motorcycle conspicuity in entirely the wrong way, by trying to shine our light directly into the eyes of the drivers ahead. Of course, the problem is we're now competing with everybody else who has a light on. So I mentioned that one of the easiest to see bicycles I'd ever encountered, at night at least, was illuminated accidentally by a flashing LED. There was actually a white bag in front of the LED, so what it was doing was it was bouncing the light back onto the rider, and it actually made her stand out extraordinarily well. So my thinking was that we could perhaps take a leaf out of the airline industry and use something like this. Now, these are called logo lights. They are shone onto the vertical stabilizer of the plane, and the idea is that they increase the plane's conspicuity on the ground when somebody looks out the window to see where the plane is on the tarmac. Now, I showed a photo of this particular logo lights. It's on a Swiss Air plane, obviously, to show what I meant. Now, response to the article was predictably mixed. There were some who thought it was an interesting piece of left field thinking. There were plenty of others though who thought I was completely bonkers. So let me show you the new Lambretta Electra. This I showed you a couple of weeks ago. It was at the EICMA Milan show back in November. It's electric, from you probably guessed from the name, but what I hadn't actually noticed at the time, until I read another article about it, was this LED strip that surrounds the body of the scooter. And as you can see, what it does is it actually produces a sort of silhouette of the outside of the bike, which is visible from the front, and a sort of a slight frontal side-on angle. Now, I don't know whether the designers were thinking conspicuity when they introduced this. The blurb which accompanies the photo says the semi-blue light lets the electric scooter glow in the dark. Its design accents highlights the futuristic visuals of the scooter, making the rider feel that they are cruising around in a cyber city, which all sounds incredibly fanciful and also highly unlikely. I doubt many people will be thinking about Tron or anything like that while they're on the bike. Two obvious thoughts. The first is that it does neatly define the bodywork, which could make it easier to identify this as a scooter, not anything else. But the second is that where it's actually placed, it will be extremely vulnerable in the event of even a minor drop. I wouldn't even like to guess at the price of replacing it, but I do think it's a very interesting idea. Let me know what you think about that as well. I'll be interested to hear that. Richard's looked in, and so has Nigel. Well done, both of you. Good to see you both. And Nigel says Happy New Year. Yeah, good. Thank you, Nigel, and the same to you too, and everybody else who's watching the show. Right, now, I often wonder about marketing departments and who would allow something like this to appear. Now, this particular machine, to me, looks more like a Playmobil than a working motorcycle in the renders that the business has put out online. The blurry image is actually what they have been promoting. And they say this is ready for a 2024 launch. Now, it's the incredibly unfortunately named TOZ bike, TOZZ, and it's a Joyce apostrophe 90. And it's said to relive the vibe of the 1990s. It has a signature pop-up headlight. Well, I think pop-up headlights were actually probably 80s, but anyway, never mind. It has a rather odd under-seat rear light, which actually seems to illuminate the bottom and back of the motorcycle. So perhaps not unconnected with the Swiss Air aeroplane we've just seen. If slightly less useful, it has an integrated Bluetooth boombox, and it gets this sort of dirt bike inspired design. Now, rather bizarrely, both wheels, which are fitted with chunky knobbly tyres, are actually 20-inch, which I'm sure will make the tyre choice very limited indeed. Now, it's claimed it's going to be launched in Europe in just a couple of months, but although it actually looks sort of vaguely like a motorcycle, I can't see any visible switchgear, I can't see any indicators, I can't see a brake light on it, so it's certainly not road legal as it stands as a moped. And given the lack of pedal assistance, if you look at the down at the bottom underneath the electric motor down there, or the battery I suppose it is actually, you'll see fixed pegs. Now, how they are going to market it as a pedelec, a pedal assisted electric bicycle, as they say, I have no idea on that front, so maybe they'll rethink their marketing strategy, and hopefully if they do, they'll rethink their company name too. Now, this one is more definite. This is the Ola Roadster. Rather more attractive. I'm still not over blown away by those sort of the front ends on these bikes, but anyway, it's the first of 4 Ola concept motorcycles which is about to reach production. Now, this Spanish company, they've previously and quite successfully launched some electric scooters, and they recently revealed this particular working prototype. It features more reasonable 17-inch wheels, front and rear. You get those kind of mid-height clip-on handlebars, which gives you a sort of all-rounder riding position. There's no word yet on the all-important specifications, no word on performance or range, for example. But since the motorcycle's equipped with a bolt-on rear subframe crafted from machined aluminium and given a polished finish, it also gets a single-sided rear fork, as you can see from the rear wheel there. It gets a twin disc setup at the front and a single disc at the rear. The implication is this is not a moped, probably not an 11 kilowatt 125 equivalent either, so it's likely to be something with rather more performance. No word on price, of course, either, but it certainly doesn't look like a budget machine, does it? Right, okay, so that pretty much brings me to the end of today's news stories, but if your bike is tucked up in bed for the winter, you can still ride if you want to by reading some books. So why not take a look over at my bookshop, lulu.com/spotlight/survival skills. You'll find all my paper books available there to order direct from the publisher. Okay, and so on with the final piece today, long-term repair or iffy bodge. Now, I'll certainly admit there have been many occasions when I have been obliged to make emergency repairs. One of the earliest I recall was the rack that snapped on one side. That was a piece of wood, same internal diameter of the steel tube, hewn from a handy branch. That was kind of hammered up inside the tubing, then the remains of the rack hammered onto the other end of it. I put, as soon as I could, I bought a pipe clip, put that around the outside to lock it all together. Astonishing, that survived the life of the bike actually, that particular repair. A header pipe got blown out of the head of a mate's bike. We managed to restrain that with some wire cut from a handy fence. I'm sure the farmer didn't miss it. And I've also managed to fudge a broken clutch with a pair of the Honda pliers. You may remember they unscrewed. So what I did was I pulled the cable through, twisted it around the little threaded bit that held the pliers together, and then screwed the screw down on it hard, and that enabled me to actually pull the clutch lever in. My favourite though was a ring spanner that was actually slipped over the actuating arm on the crankcase. That was useful for another broken clutch cable that snapped in the south of France, unfortunately, when I didn't have enough spare wire to do the pliers trick. Rode all the way back to the UK with that, actually. Coke can, cut the ends off, slit it down one side, made it into basically a piece of tubing, and that was wrapped around the collector pipe that had snapped under the engine of my GSXR. Again, a pipe clip secured it on one end, and that kept the noise down to tolerable. And the other thing, of course, I've had to fix, well, I've still got that picture of the motorcycle up online, I don't know, has been a front brake lever. Now, another handy pipe clip and a small spanner that extended the broken off stub enough to get the front brake working again and get me home. That was a topple off actually at a standstill. But the point is, having done these bodges, they got me home, but then I fixed them properly, and safety always remains paramount. So let me show you this particularly interesting repair. Let me get that up on screen. There you are. I think you can make out what you're looking at there. That is a front brake lever, and look at it closely, and what you'll see is that the owner of the bike has removed it, and he's drilled two holes, one on either side. He's tapped them, and he has inserted a piece of bolt, threaded bolt. He then cut the head off one end, and now he's going to screw the two halves together. And then he finished it off by brazing a repair over the whole lot. Now there is a video that you can go and watch to accompany this little story, so I'll just pop that up on screen for you in a moment. There it is, or the link to it anyway. Now, I have to say it made me raise my eyebrows, because the main worry is, again, if you look at it closely, the bolt holes where they actually, the screw threaded bit, look how thin the aluminium is on either side of that. There's virtually no aluminium there at all, and you're going to be putting a lot of stress on that point every time you pull the lever on. My fear is that pulling the lever repeatedly, let alone hard, as you might have to do in an emergency, will simply rip the bolt out of the remainder of the lever, regardless of the brazing, because that's never going to be as strong as the original forging. Now, I'd like to think that the YouTuber replaced it with a new part for safety, but I fear that the efforts he'd taken to repair this and then braze it and polish up the repair to make it look almost like new made me think he was probably thinking this was good to keep riding long term. Now, of course, the best answer is not to snap a lever in the first place. Ideally, we would never drop the bike, but it happens. So there are some alternatives. Now, here's the first one. This is a rather expensive folding lever. Many riders do fit these, particularly adventure bike riders where you are likely to topple off. Some racers do it too, of course, and basically what this allows is the end of the lever to pivot vertically, so hopefully not snapping the lever clean off. This is a little bit complicated in terms of all the joints and things there. This one is from Touratech, the purveyors of expensive bolt-on bits for bikes, and this one is actually an eye-watering £160. So there is a cheaper option, and this is it. Basically, this is an example of a brake lever, but the trick that I learned years ago when I was dispatching, and I employed it on our learner bikes at the school, was basically I loosened the screws of the clamp off, and you can do this on your own bike. Now you don't want to loosen them off so much that it's flopping around. It should be stiff on the handlebar when you pull it, but if you slacken it off a bit, what you'll find is that if you bang it hard, the lever will rotate around the handlebar, and that in many times actually saves the lever from snapping. If it won't rotate, by the way, take it right off. You may find a pin inside the clamp assembly which locates it into a fixed place. I usually pull those out because they're not actually needed. Then you tighten the screws down, as I say, so it doesn't move in normal use, but it will be loose enough. It gives the lever at least a chance to rotate the whole clamp assembly around the bar. And I've saved quite a few levers that way when riders drop the bikes on training maneuvers, and even, I confess, a couple of times when I was a courier. Or you could just do what I did myself for many years as a courier, which is basically have a couple of inexpensive spares tucked away under the seat. They're not exactly difficult to replace. Anyway, you can watch that full video of the bodge and see what you think. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that. Right, okay, so some comments before we go. Sue says she likes the idea of making the bike visible, like the Lambretta scooter I've just showed you. Kevin says white side profile LEDs on the bike, potentially a UK legal issue if white light seen from the rear when the bike is turning. UK lighting regs are complex. Yes, I wouldn't disagree with that. Bluey white lights, yes, where are you going with those? However, if they are on the front of the bike, then I can't see a problem. You often see the side of a headlight from the side as a vehicle turns. I wouldn't have thought that they would be a problem, because I'm absolutely certain this bike has been through all the EU homologation checks, and it wouldn't have got this far if it had failed those. So point taken, but I suspect that they are going to be road legal. Right, that is pretty much it for today. I just have one more thing to talk about. Don't forget that my live talk events are back. The January event is going to be about camouflage and how it works, and what I want to explain that in context of is understanding better how motorcycle clothing works. If we understand camouflage effects, it's far easier to get a handle on the potential problems of clothing design. So that's Monday the 15th of January. It will be 8 p.m. The link to find out more, I've just popped that up. Do come along and join me on Monday the 15th. And if you do want to catch up with any of the previous talks, they are still available from November and December. And again, the link information is just going up to those. So that is time to wrap up the show. Don't forget, of course, take a moment to subscribe to my channel if you possibly can. Like the video if you possibly can. And check out all the other videos on YouTube, 60-second safety, 60-second science, as they all offer you really useful information about riding, but in that quick to watch, easy to digest format. And don't forget, tell your buddies too about survival skills, whether it's on YouTube, on Coffee, or on Facebook. Share links over to your riding buddies, and I'd be very, very grateful indeed. And that's it for today. Hopefully see you on the next show. And if you are out there onto the bikes today, do make sure that you stay shiny side out. Remember, watch out for all those flooded roads out there. Bye for now, and see you on Sunday. I'm Kevin Williams, and this has been Elevenses. Thanks.